T.B.Photo X1.5 to FX, and welcome back to another video. Well, this video is a little bit of an improv deal, but first of all, I think that nobody who is into photography and thereby film photography has been able to go over or overlook the fact that this past week Polaroid is back in business, in a way I should say. The reason is that the amazing guys at the Impossible Project, you know, the guys from the Netherlands, I think it is. I think Majonju on his show, he did a little bit of a thing with them almost a couple of years back, actually. Anyway, it was when Fujifilm when they stopped doing Instax film. But anyway, Polaroid is back now with Polaroid Originals. It is basically so that Impossible, the owners of Impossible, as far as I have known, I've been told, and I've seen this on a lot of YouTube channels, preferably also Ted Forbes, The Art of Photography. But anyway, what they know, okay, I'm gonna take this off sound so that doesn't interrupt me again. But anyway, what they have managed to do is that they have bought the majority stakes in Polaroid, or at least the holding company that has been bringing out Polaroid products. So in honor of that, I might just put this old Polaroid Sun 600 on here as a little bit of a nostalgia thing. This camera has some real, you know, Polaroid bringing that back. It's really cool because this camera has a little bit of sentimental value to me, at least, because this is the camera that took the very first picture of me ever. This basically took an image of me hours after I was born, so Polaroid has a little bit of a special meaning for me, at least, because I think my grandma still has that picture framed. It's basically a Polaroid picture taken with this camera, with my grandfather holding me in his arms, and yeah, it is a really special piece of photographic history for me. So way to go that Polaroid is back. They have brought out, you know, Polaroid Originals, and now also apparently the price of former Impossible Project, now Polaroid film, is dropped significantly. That's just awesome. Hat off to Impossible Project. It turned out that Impossible Project was actually very possible. So anyway, but that's not what this video is about. This is a little bit of an introduction to a little bit of a investment that I have done. As you guys who have seen my videos before know that when I've done my Mamiya 120 roll film, you know, flash tutorials, or tutorials is basically just me mucking around with flash. This one I have been using before. It's a Shepherd flash meter, and this one is the model FM1000, and it says on the back, made in Japan by Aspen Corporation, Tokyo. I mean, this thing is a really great little unit. The little bit of a limitation on it, it can be both for ambient and flash, but it only shows an EV number on the digital display up here. It do have a PC sync port and so on, and I think the slowest shutter speed it can meter for is 1/60th of a second, and the fastest is 1/500, so it has 1, 2, 3, 4 speeds it can, 4 exposure times it can meter for. But anyway, it's a great little, it has served me great, you know, but a problem is that the light dome and so on, it's on the top here, so you have to have pointed like this, you know, such. It is kind of a strange thing to use as such. It doesn't really... It's a great little flash meter, but it has its drawbacks, and today you need something a little bit more, you know, a little bit more user-friendly, I should say. So I started to look at Psyconic and so on, which I know is a leading brand in external, light meters. But the problem is that Psyconic, they're so damned expensive. But then, care of the angry photographer Ken Wheeler, which I know is a very polarizing character. But anyway, he seems to have sound advice, at least when it comes to gear. So, at a recommendation, I got this little pouch here. This is actually from Japan. And it's nothing less than the Minolta IVF, or at least it's the Minolta 4. It's the 4th generation of the Minolta light meter, and it's the IVF. IV is actually the Roman numeral for 4, and F stands for flash. And this is actually a thing, I found this on eBay. I bought it from Japan, so unfortunately I had to pay for tax and customs for this. But it was basically worth it, because this one is, these meters are basically bulletproof. They take one AA battery to use, and I'm using a Claes Olsen rechargeable 2300 milliamp battery in this. And it works great. It's a really usable little tool in my opinion. But what should we say about it? Well, I know what I have the settings for the camera right now, but for correct exposure, the Nikon D7200 now, it's on 25 frames a second with the shutter speed at 1/50th, which is the 180 rule, and it's ISO 1000. And it turns out that for a correct exposure, this one syncs for my face to 1/60th of a second, which is basically a little bit faster than 1/50th. It says f number 4.01, and that's for ambient. The thing is that this little flash meter, or rather light meter with flash, you basically have a couple of modes you can use it. And I might be putting up here some kind of B-roll for this when I show the camera. And yeah, this is really interesting. Apparently it is still made today under the name Kinko, the kind of a brand that I think Zach Arias worked for a while when he couldn't afford being a real, what he claimed, real photographer. So he used to work for a company named Kinko, and apparently they do a lot of photographic accessories as well. So if you want one of these, the Minolta IVF or 4 flash, look under the brand name Kinko, because that's basically the same thing. But anyway, really great little meter, because you basically have, on the side here you have dials for up and down, scrolling up and down. Now it's just scrolling the time for the exposure time. If you hold down the ISO button, it basically raises and lowers the ISO number. You can change it between F number, or you can have exposure value, or EV number. So these two basically can put out the same type of EV number, so it's the same as the Shepherd. But anyway, you can also, I have to read the manual. The manual for this is available online in PDF form as well, saves paper. But you have this mode button as well, and you have basically AMBI, which stands for ambient. That's basically what I'm using now, that I'm having lights, directed lights in this situation. Then you can have it on chord, which is basically down here under the Minolta logo. You have a PC sync port. So if you have external flash units, you can always plug in the PC port, and when you press the meter button here on the side, it will basically make the flashes go off, and it will take a reading. And then you have non-C, which is non-chord, as I've understood. That means basically that this becomes a slave unit of sorts, like a slave flash. It basically means that when this sees a flash, it will meter. It will trigger a flash will trigger the metering system in this light meter. So that's a little bit of a nifty feature actually. So yeah, that's about all I know about it for now, and as I said, the drawback with this one, it's either spot metering or this dome, but everything is here. So you have to, you know, do something like this. The Minolta, on the other hand, has a, you know, turnable dome, and also I know that there is an accessory that you can turn it into some kind of spot meter. So this one has a lot of, you know, nifty features in it, so it's a great little tool to have in your toolbox. And for people who say that external light meters are passé, no, I don't really think so, because this one also has another little feature. If you scroll up in, and I'll just see it here, if you scroll up past, what is it now? Yeah, 8,000, 1/8,000th of a second, which is the max shutter speed this can meter for, you actually go over to from, what is it, time to cine, C-I-N-E, which is the frames per second. So I can turn this to 24 frames per second and actually meter, and it will give me an f-stop number of 4.06, which basically means that if I have my camera now, the Nikon D7200, set to 24 or 25 frames per second more or less, and ISO 1000, and I just do like so, I know that to have a good exposure I need to use a aperture of about 4.06, which actually is kind of good, because if you have seen my other video, actually I'm testing out another video lens, so if this becomes wonky or something, it's a little bit because I'm using a new little lens acquisition, which I have to do a little bit of a workaround to make it work with the Nikon D7200. It's actually an M42 lens, and it's nothing else than the Pentacon made in not USSR, but close enough, DDR, Deutsche Demokratische Republik. It is a 30mm f3.5. So why do I use that as a video lens? Well, it's because contrary to the Nikon Nikkor 29mm f3.5 that I usually use, the Pentacon versions have stepless apertures, so you can basically step it down or step it up as you please, which is a bit of a good feature for film making. But that's basically all for me for now. This was a little bit of an unscripted video about the advent that finally Impossible has managed to get control over Polaroid, and this little new acquisition that I think can be useful in the future, because as you might have known, I have gotten some new Mamiya acquisitions as well, so this might be good for something in the future when it comes to some flash work and other things as well that might be brewing inside this twisted piece of mind. Pun intended, or whatever. But anyway, this is Tobias Bergstrom from T.B.Photo X1.5 to FX, and I'd like to see you guys in the next video. And as you're supposed to say in this YouTube malarkey, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. As you're supposed to say in this YouTube malarkey. But anyway, see you guys in the next video, and take care from now on. Bye.